Hey everybody, welcome back yet to another video. In today's video we're gonna take a look at IES lightings. Alright, so before I start explaining, let me give you just a rough idea as to what these lights are used for. So when you want to light your scene, be it an exterior or an interior one, in many cases you're going to want to have something like this. So you have your building, and then you have some lights coming from the bottom and to the top, or vice versa, coming from the top to the bottom. Now these kinds of lights shouldn't be too much of a problem, as you can just simply slap on a simple VRay light, point it upwards, and you should be able to get something like this. But now the issue arises when you want to get something maybe like this. If I zoom in, but the quality of this image is not that great, but still, you can see that these lights have a bit of a shape. So if we just slap on a simple VRay light and point it downwards, we are not going to be able to obtain this shape. So this is where IES lights come into play. For example, these were just the exterior. Let me show you a few more images, like, for example, this one. Here is a better example for this. As you can see, this light has a shape. Like the silhouette on the wall has a certain shape. It can go up and it can go down, and it's giving us a nice looking effect. This can be seen in many places, like exterior and interiors, and here are a few more other examples. Like here, this is a CGI render, so somebody actually did this as a 3D model. I actually liked it because you can see different kinds of effects coming from this light, and you have then two more that are intersecting at the top. So all of these are actually IES lights. So IES lights are very common in CGI because they can give your lights some very nice looking realistic details. But the thing you need to understand and remember is that IES lights are not primary lights. They are mainly used as filler lights, and they actually are so popular that here's another render, and this image is from inside Unreal Engine. So they are actually coming into play even in game engines. Alright, so first of all, I'm going to just close all of these images, and let's jump back into Max. Alright, so we are in Max, and I have a simple scene that I've actually worked in one of my previous projects. So I've stripped it of all textures, and the only thing that I have here is a bed. As you can see here, we have a bed with some bedding on it, some curtains, and from this side we have a window and a VRay light that is projecting some night light into the scene. And this is how the render looks at the moment. So as you can see, it's pitch black, or very dark render. So other than my very dark scene, I also, if you see this here, I have this tube looking or cylindrical looking light, and if I rotate it around, you're gonna see this is actually a light. So this light can project light downwards and upwards, pretty much similar to what we saw in one of the images that I showed you previously. Now, before we do anything else, we want to prepare ourselves and download a few things. And the first thing that you would want to download is an IES Light Previewer. So the way to do it is, all you have to do is go over to www.parametricsviewer.com. From here, you will be able to grab the downloader from the download site. So you just have to go to download, and from here just choose the latest version, which is the moment this video is made is 3.3. If you're watching this later on, maybe you have a newer version. And to be totally honest, when I actually downloaded, it was at 3.05, so I just managed to update my version as well. So just download this. It's a simple file, and as soon as you have it, then everything is going to be cool. Just copy it somewhere on your site, or actually not your on your hard disk. All right, so once you have this, the next thing you want to get is some IES lights. So what do I mean by this? Well, you have to go and actually get some parametric files. The best place you can get those would be to come to a site called litonia.com. I'm going to leave all of these links on the site, so feel free to go over there and grab them from there. So once you come over to Litonia's site, what you want to go, where you want to go is in resources, where it says photometrics. Once you're in here, it's going to give you a list of a lot of different data files. So inside these data files, you're going to find a bunch of IES lights, so different shapes. So you can choose to download some of them, or you can choose to download all of the photometric data files. I have downloaded all of them just in case, so when I need to find something for a work for a job I'm doing, I just scroll through most of them and find the one I like. Now, the other site that I would probably reference you guys to go to is urco.com. So this site is actually, it has quite a bit of fun things to do here. So all you have to do is go over here where it says finding luminaries. So click here and go all products. So this producer basically has a lot of lights. So in many cases, you might actually be asked to use one of these lights for your project. So if this is the case, you can simply choose the light that is most close to the one you're using, or maybe if you're using the same one. For example, let's go and find something similar to what we have. It might be, well, the cylinder, surface mounted luminaries. So cylinder, click on it, and we're gonna get a lot of specs for this kind of lights. So the one we are looking for is when we scroll downwards, we're gonna get to this point where it says, when it's giving us the article number, it's gonna give us the luminous flux, which is actually telling you how powerful the light is gonna be, and also where the cutoff for the light is gonna end up, at what angle. You're gonna actually see how all of that works once we jump into max. So we have the luminous flux and the power rating in watts and lumens. And when you scroll down here, which says planning data for download, you have the ability to download an IES data. So if you download this, you're gonna have a file that we can use in 3ds Max. So for now, I'm just gonna close this and jump back into our scene in 3ds Max. So now that I have everything downloaded, I'm gonna open up the folder where I actually downloaded everything. Here it is. So here is the Ies Viewer. So I'm gonna double click on it, and this is what I get. I get this window. So what actually happens here? So I have to go from this side over here on the left side. I have to navigate to where I actually placed my files at. As you can see, I have them here, and let me just click on any of these. You're gonna see that I have quite a few folders. Once I get into those folders, and we get to files that end up with .ies. Now, these are the files that we downloaded from Litonia's site. And you can see on this side over here, we have some lines, a red line and a smaller, thinner line. If we scroll downwards, we're going to see that all of these lines are different. We have some numbers here. So what do they all mean? Well, just so we don't have to get all that technical, we can just choose to go over here and press the render button. As soon as we do this, we're going to get this little preview button, or a preview window. Inside this preview window, we can see exactly what kind of light we have chosen here. And as you can see, as we are scrolling downwards here, I'm just using my keyboard arrows, and as I'm scrolling down, you can see that the light is changing here. So I'm gonna try to find something that I might actually like. So this would be ideal if I had a light that projects lights downwards and upwards. Plus, the great thing about this little preview is that you can choose to see how your light is going to look if you like get closer to it or get away from it, or you put some distance between it, zoom in, zoom out, and increase the brightness or decrease the brightness. So you can see how your light would look like if you have a very, very powerful light source. Like if you would blow it out of proportion for something like this, you're gonna have this kind of an effect. But since we don't want to have something like this, we're probably gonna get to about here, something like this. So depending on what kind of light do you want, you can just choose to go any of these lights, maybe something like this, or just scroll down until you find something that you would like to have in your scene. Now, the next important thing here is once you find it, let's say for example I want to use this light. Now I would have to go over and just move this upwards. I'm going to close this. What I want to do here is I want to follow this same exact path as I can see it here. So in my case, this is in the commercial and industrial fluorescent. So commercial and fluorescent, low bay industrials, EJ, and then EJS, and -2, 54, T5HO. And SAR. So it's this one. This is the file that I'm actually looking for. This is the one. So I'm going to copy this. All right, copy. And I'm going to paste it in a folder that I can easily find it, be it on my desktop or in another folder. I previously actually tried this, so I chose a few lights over here. So I'm just going to copy this one as well. And I'm going to rename this to light 011. Okay, so we're going to close this, minimize this, and here we are finally back into Max. Now, how do we work with IES Lights? IES Lights actually, when you're working with VRay, once you go to the lights and choose VRay, you have a special kind of light type, and that type is VRay IES. So once you click on VRay IES, it's going to allow you to click and drag a light in the scene. So in my case, I'm going to go over on the front. I'm going to click where my light is, and then I'm just going to draw downwards a simple line, something like this. Now I'm going to hold on Control, select my target and my light. I'm selecting them both because I want to make sure that they are in position from the top as well, because as it is right now, I don't think it's up. There we go. Okay, so as you can see here, we have our light in position. So first of all, let's try and do a test render and see what we have by default. So I'm going to go ahead. This is what we have at the moment. So render, and let's see. As soon as the render is finished, we can notice that we are starting to get something. So we have this ball of light projecting a light downwards, and it's starting to look like something, but it's a far-fetched from what we saw on the first images that we took as a reference file. So let's see how we can get this to follow the IES lights. So I'm going to select the top, or the generator for light. I'm going to hop on over to modify, and this here are the parameters for this light. Now what we want to do here is, the first thing we want to change is the IES file here, where it says none. So this means that as it is right now, it's not following any IES data, it's just projecting light. We want to change this, so I'm going to click on None, and I'm going to scroll over to light 011, the one that I actually copied and named 011. So double click, and right away we can see here, let me just zoom in a bit so you guys can see it better. We can see that the light that we had here, there was just a sphere, is now a bit changed. It has a different shape, but that is not so visible at the moment. But as soon as I render out one more version of this, let's see how this thing is going to look like. And now, as we can see, we have a whole different situation. Now, this shape is basically the IES file that we got from the Ies Viewer. So the other thing that I'm going to show you, just a second, this is the file that we had here. So if I reduce the brightness, you're going to notice that we have those same exact rays showing up over here. Now, the thing here that is really important to remember is, if I take a look at the options for this light, you're going to see that over here, where it says intensity, you have 8,900 lumens of power. So by just importing this IES light over here, if we take a look at down, where it says power, you're going to see that by default now here, it's changed at 8,900. So this is the actual intensity of the light. It's following the same exact parameters from the file that we imported. So these IES files accept the shape, they bring the actual power of the light. Now we can manually change this if we want to get a more stronger light or a softer light. We can change this and get a whole different intensity of the light. The other thing that we can change here is the color mode. By default, this is set up as neutral white. We can choose it to be at a temperature, and this time around I can go ahead and change the temperature in kelvins. So if I want to get a warmer color, I can probably go something like 4800. This is going to give us a warmer color, or 5000 would give us more wider color. Or if I want to get something like a neon cold color, we can go up in the 7000s. We can see it's already blue. So we have total control over the temperature or the color, as well as the power. So I'm going to skip it down to 4000, well, actually 4800. And for the power, I'm going to leave it up at, well, let's go with just 8,000. Now, the other thing that you should probably remember when you're using IES Lights is that this field over here, which says Shape Subdivs, it's usually set up as something very low as 8, and if you leave it like this, you're gonna see some nasty problems with the noise coming from the light. So just so you can skip away from that noise, we can increase this to either 64. I'm just gonna go overboard and put it at 128 for this render, and I'm just gonna render one more time so I can see the difference. And now if I zoom in, I can see that that nasty noise that was in our scene is now gone, and we have a much cleaner result. Now the great thing about these lights is that you can choose to go ahead and, for example, copy it. All right, let's go ahead and make one more. So again, an instance, and once you use 2 of these, you're gonna get a much more interesting result. So again, let's re-render, and as we can see, we have a much more interesting result in our scene when using multiple of these lights. And the other great thing about these lights is that once you have your scene set up with them, and provided you've made, like I did, you made instances of the light, you can just simply go ahead, change the IES file. For example, I'm going to try one of the few ones I've chosen from previously. Click here. You're going to notice right away the power is changed, so it's affecting that light setting. I'm going to re-render. And you'll notice right away that we got a really different looking result by just switching over the IES file. So for every single IES file that we switch, we're going to get a different result. Now, like I said in the beginning of this video, IES lights are great as a light source, but you really shouldn't be using them as primary lights. You probably want to keep them as secondary or filler lights, and you want to have your scene be lit up from a different main light. For example, in my scene over here, I have two more lights that are turned off at the moment. I'm going to turn on this one. So this is basically just going to give us a bit of light coming from this side of the room. Again, I'm just going to check one of these lights. Alright, this is okay. And let's re-render and see how our scene is going to look like with the actual main light and the filler lights turned on. And as soon as the render is finished, we can see that these two IES lights that we added in our scene are giving us a nice flare to our scene. So if you guys enjoyed watching this video and you managed to learn something, then don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button, as it really does help a lot with YouTube. So that would be it. That would be it for this video. And you guys take care, and I'll see you all in the next video.